You missed the notes. Okay, really quick, like super quick. So she gives me feedback every time. I'm doing this right now, so I can't say this. You guys know what I'm saying? You catching my drift? I'm recording, so I can't say what I was saying. Okay, we're about to start this. I'm changing this problem a little bit, and we're gonna do this problem, and then we're gonna do a little bit of 1.6, and then tomorrow we'll do the homework. For right now, though, Jace, Daniela, and Hishab are going to work on their quiz. It's just 4 questions, and then we'll jump back in with us. So if you're not able to know, you need to use your calculator. Oh, you were here yesterday. Forget it. Don't even think about it, my friends. All right, let's go. So this problem, the way it's written is yuck, okay? I'm about to simplify it for you right here, okay? The test review I made for you has a problem just like it on this. The test review I made for you, I think, is going to be just like your test, okay? So I want to change this question. I want to change this question to match that, okay? So I'm going to kind of change it. This is talking about, on average, how many cats Floridians have, okay? And I'm going to make up a number. I'm going to say, on average, Floridians have 1.8 cats per household. What does 0.8 mean? You can't have 0.8 of a cat. It's just the math of it. So approximately 2. And then this is the part of the question I want to introduce to you, which truly has nothing to do with proportions like we did yesterday, but this one will, so we'll come back to proportions. Okay, so when you have something called a margin of error, this is what it means. So there's a corner of math called statistics. Okay, we offer a class here called AP Statistics. And in that, so what statistics is like taking data and analyzing it. And one of the things that you learn in there is really easy math. Sounds like I'm getting really hard here, so this is really a simple question. But what a margin of error is they come up with data, like how many cats on average Floridians have. And these scientists, math people, statisticians is what they're called, come up with something called a margin of error. And it'll always have a plus or a minus in front of it. What that means is plus 0.01 and minus 0.1, sorry. And so what that means is our answer is pretty close, but we could be within 0.1 of the true answer. All you have to do is find those 2 answers. So this just becomes 2 problems, kind of like with the absolute value problems we were doing. 1.8 plus 0.1 and 1.8 minus 0.1. That's what the plus and the minus mean. I've already gone back on it 6 times. Have a seat. Okay, so we put this in our calculator. We get 1.9 and 1.7. So that is what is the margin of error. They give that to you. Yes, please. Guys, I need you to stay while I'm doing the notes. Wait till I'm done with the notes. This is too important. We've got to learn this stuff. And so what another question you could be asked here is, what's the maximum and what's the minimum? What's the most cats? 1.9. What's the minimum number of cats? 1.7. Maximum is the most, minimum would be the smallest. So you're going to have a question on your test review, and I'm pretty sure on your test, remember I don't make it, but like I just went through all that, that's going to have one of these margin of error problems. And you can see it's very simple. You're given this number, you're given this, you just have to know what to do with it. And it's always add that number and subtract that number. It's that simple, okay? You're going to see this problem again. This is a pretty famous Algebra 1 problem. So listen, the beginning of this is pretty simple. But what we're going to have to do in this word problem is create our own proportion, which we learned how to do yesterday, I remember. All right, so the restaurant Wingstop wants to know what level of spiciness, mild, medium, and hot, is most popular with customers. They look at a random sample of orders and found that about 60% ordered medium, 25% ordered hot, and 15% ordered mild. So this word inference, that's a big word, not a word we use every day, including me. What inference can be made about the customer base? There's lots of different things you could say here, right? So what's one thing that you could say about the customers that go to this Wingstop by this information, that 60% of their customers order medium, 25% ordered hot, and 15% ordered mild? What's something you could say? Anybody? Perfect. Most customers order medium, or the least number of the least popular hot level of hotness would be mild. Like there's a bunch of different things. I like what you just said. Most customers order medium. Okay, so that's one thing. But an inference is just what's an assumption you could make by the data given to you. Okay, so a couple different things you could say. All right, now they look at a random sample of 60 orders and found this information. So now we're not talking about percents. So 60, they looked at 60, let's just say this, the first 60 customers of the day. They looked at what they ordered. So first, second, third, fourth, all the way up to the 60th customer. What did they order? 30 of them ordered medium, 18 ordered hot, and 12 ordered mild. Okay? So that adds up to 60, just so you know. If the restaurant gets about 200 orders in a day, what is the most reasonable estimate of a customer order that will be hot? Okay? So what this is saying is 18 out of how many? 18 out of how many ordered hot? What's my bottom number? 60. Remember? Out of 60, 18 ordered hot. The question is, how many, that's what we don't know, will order hot out of 200? That's a proportion. We have 3 pieces of information and you're missing the 4th. Okay? Notice how I did the smaller sample on top is the number that ordered it out of the total number of people, and I kept the same order in the second fraction. How many, that's what I don't know, would order hot out of the total 200? So we know how many did it out of 60. We can use that information to get an estimate of how many would do it out of 200. And what we learned yesterday is, we called it the butterfly method, is just cross multiplying. And guys, remember I called these corners? It doesn't matter which corner you start with. It doesn't matter. You can start with 18, X, 200, or 60. Any of them. As long as you go crisscross applesauce. Okay? So that's 18 times 200. That's one place to start. I could have done that one. Equals X times 60. Or you could have written 60 times X. Multiplication order doesn't matter. Which side of the equal sign doesn't matter. So when I put 200 times 18 in my calculator, I did not do this in my head, 3,600. X times 60 is 60X. And now there's only one more step. Remember, you want to get X by itself. What do? Come on. Divide by 60. Don't let it throw you off. The X is on this side. It doesn't matter. And this is just a coincidence, by the way. 3,600 divided by 60 is 60. Okay? It just happens to be. So by looking at a sample of 60 customers who ordered 18 of them were spicy, we can kind of estimate that out of 200 customers, 60 will order the hot. Okay? This question, a similar way of asking it, is on your test review. Okay? I think you'll see maybe it on your test as well. I'm not sure. I don't make your test. Okay, so we finished 1.5 between yesterday and today, right? We did some cross multiplying. we have the very last section, and we're not doing all of these. We're doing the very last section in module 1. So in this class, the units or chapters are called modules. So module 1 is like unit 1 or chapter 1. So 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, 1-5, and now 1-6. Tomorrow we'll practice 1-5 and 1-6. Thursday's the test review. Friday is your test. Okay? Let me rewrite this problem. You rewrite it with me. How did I rewrite it? What did I do? Yeah, I'm getting rid of one of those keys. So rewrite this problem to look like this. Okay, let's rewrite. Oh, we are going to solve for P. Now, 1.6 is called rearranging formulas. They're also called literal equations. So whoever made up the curriculum for this course, like what has to get taught to you, somebody made a decision in the state of Florida, somebody way above me, said, these are the things that are really important that Algebra 1 students need to know, okay? They love these questions. Whoever they are that made it, they are going to give these to us all the time. And we've actually already had them. We've already had them. Yeah. That's a Q. Sorry. Letters are funny. And what this is solving for a variable. Like we just solved for x here. We solved for x here. We solve for x. Get the letter by itself. We're solving for p, okay? That means we have to get p by itself. What makes students hate these problems, and we're going to have to get over it, is that there's extra letters. Why are there so many letters in these problems? But what I'm going to show you is you already know how to do everything I'm about to show you. If you could solve the problems if you could solve this equation, you can solve this one, because it's just doing the same thing as if it were a number. So let me back up. You say to yourself, is there any distributive property? No. Are there any like terms on the same side? No. Okay, now let's start moving everybody away from P. So if we're solving for P, that means the 7R and the 4 have to go. Anyone want to take a guess at what the first step would be? Here. Subtraction? No. Vitali. Gotta have your head up and do notes. Nope. Okay, here it is. If that R weren't there, we would add 7, right? Who cares that the R is there? We have to move the whole thing to the other side. That's how you would do it. The weird thing, though, is that there's nowhere to add it. I can't add 7R to a Q. I can't add a 7R to a 16, so I just put it over there. It's almost easier because you don't have to pick up a calculator. You just write it, okay? Now what do you think the last step is to get P by itself? What does it mean when a number and a letter are right next to each other? Multiply. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. We're going to divide everybody by 4. Remember, that's our goal. We want P by itself. I'm going to divide all these guys over here by 4. P equals, what's Q divided by 4? I don't know. You don't know. We shouldn't know. We don't know what Q is. Yes, that's a Q max. Q, I'll just leave it like that. Can I do 16 divided by 4? Sure can. And guys, you can leave this as a fraction, or if you went ahead and put it in your calculator and did 7 divided by 4, you could have written that as a decimal. But that's it. That's the answer. That's all we could do. And students hate these problems for the simple reason that they don't like all those letters. But they exist, so we just have to deal with them. Okay? So let's do a few more. If we're going to solve for A here. So I just like to rewrite it because I write so big. Let's write it again. So think about who you're trying to get by itself. What do we think? Same first step as the last problem. Anybody? Very good, Max. Add 2B. Yeah. I need to get A by itself. I don't have any distributive property. There's nothing I can't add these two together, and there's nothing to add over there. So all that's left is to get the A by itself. All right, that means you got to go. You got to go to the other side. You can't stay there. He knew to add because he saw a subtraction sign. They cancel. Left with 5A equals, okay, 15 plus 2B. Can I add those two together? Am I allowed to? Nope. So I just write it. And I could have changed the order. I could have written 2B plus 15. That would have been fine as well, by the way. Last step. On every problem. Divide. 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 We accomplished getting A by itself, right? That's what that means. Solve for A by itself. 15 divided by 5. Oh, I can do that. My calculator or my brain, whatever. And you could write 2 over 5, or you could have changed it to a decimal in your calculator if you wanted to. Fraction or a decimal would be totally fine there. The order of these two could be flipped. The reason I like to tell you all the different ways you can write an answer is because you're going to get some multiple choice questions in this class. So you need to be able to say, oh, that's what I wrote. That's the same as this answer, like choice B or whatever, right? These mean the same thing. That's important that you guys can recognize that. If it's not multiple choice, you could write it either way. But if it's multiple choice, you have to be able to say, oh yeah, that's the same as my answer. So you get it right, okay? Okay. The reason these are called literal equations is because a lot of times when we're doing these, it's not these random ones. It's actual real equations of area and volume. When you go to geometry next year, you're working with a ton of formulas, okay? Area of things, volume of things, all kinds of questions, perimeter, and you're given a whole bunch of formulas on the formula sheet we have in here. The one you do in geometry is got a ton on it, okay? So anyway, that's why we say little. This is an actual equation that means something in the world. This is a bunch of blah, 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 right? Blah, blah, blah stuff, just letters, okay? So let's do this one. What I have here is the volume equals, you guys know what this symbol means? What is that? What do I say? Pi. So you guys have heard of pi before in other classes? Yeah? Jace, you can jump in the notes with us. R squared and H. Okay, that was given to us. Now let's see what it tells us to do. What is the formula used to find the height? That's another way of saying solve for H. Get H by itself. So sometimes it helps just to underline it if there's a bunch of letters in the problem. Not required. I need to get everybody away from H. There's no distributive property. There's no like terms that I should be adding together. I'm going to jump right into that final thing that we do, which is to get everybody away from the H. If you are on the same side of the equal sign as the H, you got to go. You can't stay, okay? And we're in charge of kicking them to the other side. And to do that, is that enough? So it's our job to get it to the other side, okay? And how we do that is we have to follow the rules. So that's what we've been doing, all these different equations. We can't let this problem bother us because it has so many letters in it, okay? This problem, for my first period, looked a little, like people were really confused by it. They were like, wait a second, how do we move an R squared? The squared threw people off, okay? This is actually done in one single step. One step and you're done, okay? So, Gabs, when I have a number and a letter right next to each other, what does that mean? It's okay to get it wrong. It's okay. What do you think? When we have 4x right next to it, what is that saying? Okay. Hey, a number and a letter next to each other means times, okay? That goes for two letters that are next to each other. When you see R squared and H right next to each other, that's multiplication, okay? So what we actually have here, like if you read this to me, you'd probably say this, and you're not wrong. You'd say volume equals pi R squared H, and that's right. But let's put the other words in it, the operational words. when you're trying to figure out what to do, say, is it multiplication, addition? So another way to say this, volume equals pi times r squared times h. That's what that says. What is that opposite operation from multiplication? What's the opposite? Division. And guess what? You don't have to do it twice just because there's two. We can do it all in one step. I'm going to divide this side by pi r squared. What you do to one side, you got to do to the other. Remember, just like with, pi is a number, right? Pi is 3.14. It's a number. It's just written as a symbol. Those will cancel. We just accomplished solving for h. And wait, how do I put this in my, how do I put v divided by pi r squared in my calculator? What'd you say, Alan? So what's the real answer? How do I put it in my calculator? You don't. You can't. If it's not the numbers that we can simplify like we did on some of these other ones, then we just leave our answer with all those variables showing the operation, which is division. H is by itself. And remember, like I said, we have to be able to recognize our answer in a multiple choice. So you wrote it like that, but choice C wrote it like this, right? We have to recognize that those mean the same thing. That's why I keep telling you all the different ways you can write things. Okay? That one was a you try that I kind of did with you. I'm going to have you guys try example 3, okay? I want you guys, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to walk around and check on you. I want to see you guys read the question, figure out what to solve for, and at least do one of the steps, if not more. Read, what are you solving for? At least do one step. I'm going to give you a chance to do that. Don't wait for me. I need you to stop. Just jump back in, sweetheart. Okay. So I'm just going to rewrite it because I need to have some space. Okay, so Daniela, what letter are we trying to isolate or get by itself? C. That's right. Solve the equation for C. Okay? So a good first step would be, okay, I wrote the problem down. Yeah, number 14. Okay, so, sorry guys, let's get this done. We need to get the C by itself. There's no distributive property, right? There's nothing I should be adding on any of the sides. There's no like terms anywhere. So now we start peeling everything away. Everybody's got to go. If you are on the same side of the equation as a C, you have to get to the other side. I need a volunteer for the first step. Jace, what's the first step? It makes me happy when you raise your hand. What's the first step? We would do that if there were like terms. Somebody help him out. Thank you. Elisa? Yeah, we're going to scoop that up, move it to the other side. We have to follow the rules. So we're going to subtract. Do you see it, Chase? Because there aren't any like terms. There's nothing that's alike in this problem, but that usually is one of our steps, okay? So guys, I can't put t minus 15.49 in my calculator. So I just write it. Look, t minus 15.49p. That's all I can do. All that's left on this side is 13.49c. What does it mean when a number and a letter are standing next to each other like that? What does it mean? What does it mean? Multiplication. This means multiplication. That is times. Opposite is division. Getting close to the bell. Now guys, you can divide these individually. Ms. Solomon, how do they normally do it? How have you seen the answers written? Like as like one big? Okay, so guys, let's do it like that. So we would have t minus 15.49p, right? That was our numerator. And then I call this a big, fat, lazy fraction. One big fraction, and you just write that number one time in the denominator. As one big one, yeah. Technically, you could write it as two separate ones, but multiple choice in this class, you would see it written like that. And that's it. That's the end. Okay, we got C by itself. Right? These are tough. We're going to keep practicing them. We're getting close to the bell. Please put everything away. Bring your books back. I need your books back. Please, please, please.
Got the memo?
Yeah. I'm all right. I love my students. My students make me very happy.